Welcome, everybody. I guess I'm live streaming on YouTube on my Hard at Work channel. And I did practice a little bit yesterday. But anyway, the meeting, the summit, the Changemaker Summit happens, starts at 10 o'clock. But I thought I would just get ahead of the game. And if anybody's joining me on the Zoom connection, please welcome yourself, introduce yourself in the chat. And we'll get going. And I guess I should share my screen with the next speaker. The first speaker is Chris Salem, but I will introduce him when we get closer to 10 o'clock, and I'll share his information. And we've kind of worked in several events that I've done. So I'm sure you'll look forward to meeting him, and he'll tell you a little bit how he serves his people, and we'll go from there. But in the meantime, I just thought I'd hang out and wait with you. Technology, isn't it surprisingly how well it's expanded and how it keeps working? And I got to keep coming up with the tools. So anyway, yeah, so welcome to the channel. And I probably should do on my general channel, but I thought, well, it's more about Hard at Work and how we serve. So how I'm Marilyn Harris, and probably gathered by that. And I'm the founder and CEO of CKO, I should say, Chief Kindness Officer of Hard at Work. And I like to do a lot of things to help promote other business owners. Also, I've been coaching startups since 1995. It's a long time. Not consistently, but if I'm not volunteering, I'm helping other businesses, small business owners, move along in their business. We all have start somewhere, and then eventually we keep growing, and we run into other situations or obstacles or challenges that maybe stop us for a minute, and then we say, okay, what do I need to do next? And some people don't move because they're so frozen in their decision of what they need to do. So we always need a guide, a mentor, a coach, or somebody to help you see, because when we're owning businesses, we're in the forest. And we need somebody outside the forest to come in and say, hey, this is how you can solve this problem you're having. Or so what I'll be doing is offering, I also offer cohort groups where people can come together. If you're a founder or a CEO, it's very hard to find other people that want to listen to you or pay attention to you, or even take the time to be with you. So I have these groups formed, and you can join them if you like. I mean, it's no pressure. So that's one way I serve, is so that these groups are people that are in the same space as you. If you're a CEO or founder, you want to be in people that are complementary to you, so that they have run into the same issues or challenges than you do. Some might be a little more advanced, some be a little bit lower, but you have that commonality, you have that community that you can go to. So if you ever need any help. And then the other thing I do is Impactful Legacy. It's a podcast. I put it in pause for a bit because I just kind of got tired of interviewing the same type of people. So I'm now using that as my newsletter. And from there, I'll probably do it twice a month. And I'll be either interviewing people that are change makers or change agents, or I'll just be talking about a topic that seems to come up and how do you solve that problem. So that'll be coming up. Probably like to start restarting it in April. So if you're interested or know somebody, please reach out. And then I will probably continue doing master classes or summits like this. So that's me in a nutshell. So I'm glad that you are tuning in and joining me today. Uh, some of the speakers may jump in and be able to answer any questions you have of them. Um, some of them are away. But anyway, I know that you'll enjoy it. And if you have any questions for any of the speakers and you're not able to get a hold of them, please reach out to me and I will forward your questions on to them and have them. We'll do a call at the very end and just do a Q&A. And for those who have questions and would like to get them answered. Okay, so it is now 9:42. I'm still a little bit early, but I think it's a good time. Tell you a little bit about the Change Makers Summit. I myself too was looking at, okay, who is my audience? Who do I like to work with? And as a change agent myself or change maker, that's because I started doing kindness in business 20 some years ago, bringing kindness into the workplace. And so from there, that's kind of what I've been doing. And I just kind of really recently realized, hey, I'm a change maker. I'm a change agent. So I said, why don't I work with those people? Because I understand them. I know where they're at. And plus, being a business coach for quite a long time, I understand that their levels of challenges or obstacles that come up to them. And how can I help you to solve them? Or how can I just listen to you and see if you want any help, because sometimes we don't need any help. We just need somebody to listen to us and we figure out the problem or the answer to the problem. So yeah, so that's how Change Makers kind of came about. And then I decided, why not just do a little summit and see who is attracted by that, who is interested in knowing more. Um, so, and sometimes, we don't even have to have a business. Sometimes we find an issue like somebody's always hungry. There's a group of people that are always hungry, and you decide to create a group where you're feeding other people. And eventually you realize that you can be formerly like my friend Octavia here in San Jose, California. She started off feeding the hungry and she had worked out of a church kitchen. And now she's formerly a nonprofit and she still does it. So every Friday, she feeds the hungry or the unhoused in San Jose in a park. And so a lot of times it just takes, have her on my podcast sometime soon. But a lot of times it's just that you find that, oh my gosh, people are hungry and how can I feed them? So that's kind of what she's doing. I'm really happy that she's continued to do it. But there's another change maker for you. For somebody that has a business and they decide that they want to add something, give back part of their business. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. There's also Benefit B corporations, which they have a nonprofit attached to or a foundation attached to the business. And that's another way to do it, but that's much bigger scale. That's when you're making quite a few millions of dollars. Because it is this to get the certification is very challenging. I tried to do that myself, but I don't have a physical building, so there's a lot of things that I don't really qualify under being a Benefit B. But anyway, yeah, so there's lots of things that you could think about. So I did the kindness. You have people feeding the hungry. You have people having maybe you're a doctor or a counselor, and you decide that so many people within your business you will serve. Maybe you take a month and you say, this month I just serve people that, maybe you don't have the money to pay you, but you can maybe give so many, sessions complimentary, because it's a great way to build your practice. And it's also a great way to help somebody else outside yourself. So there's lots of different ways of being a change maker. Change makers are tendency to be is they see a problem and they go out there and try to solve it. And eventually they might become a nonprofit. Eventually, they might form a business. So there's lots of ways that you can do it. It doesn't have to be, I don't believe that you have to be a nonprofit to serve other people. I believe that you can serve people and serve them well as long as you have, it's your intention. What intention do you have about serving other people? So that's really the thing about change makers and change agents. I love them because they're out doing the work. They're just saying, hey, this needs to change. And um, it might be an issue at work that needs to be changed. It might be in your community. It might be wherever you are, and you just realize things got to change. And why are they a problem? And you find a way around it and do it. So in my case, when I started hard at work, I've had so many bad bosses, believe me. I'm sure many of you have, where you have a salesperson who's been just promoted to manager. No training, no nothing. He has no idea, but he's excited to get the promotion. And the company doesn't even offer anything to how to manage people or how to direct them, how to mentor or coach them, because they've never had that themselves and they've never bothered to take up those kind of things personally themselves. And then what do you have? You have a battle of control going on because they were at one level, your level, and then they got bounced up. Why? Because somebody liked him and not because of any skill set or results. So there's those kind of situations I've had. Or, I'm pretty easygoing, but I like my communication clear and that type of thing. So, but anyway, I've had some crappy bosses and or people really don't know what they're doing and they're bossing you around. And you already have tried everything possible. I had one boss, I mean, she was a really nice person. And in some ways a good boss, but things got to a certain level that she didn't have any more say in anything. And the powers to be above her just told her, let's tell them to do the same thing over and over and over again. Well, we're not getting results if we keep doing the same thing over and over again. What do they call that? Insanity or something. So anyway, so that's why I decided to take a break and I took an entrepreneur training course. Not that I hadn't I've had lots of my own businesses on the side one time or another, but I haven't really had any formal training. So I took a course about how to become an entrepreneur. We have a wonderful instructor. I had a great bunch of people I got to work with. And we were brainstorming a name for my company, and I was going to call it Kindness at Work. And it was, oh no, but then if you want to do something else, you can't really branch off. And so we ended up coming up with Heart at Work. So that's how I got my company name. And then from there, from that training, I was able to get started and do some research to see if people really wanted training, if there was really a money available out there for training. And I went into this and just said, hey, I can help you. And it was funny because I had a lot of employee groups of companies who said they wanted more kindness at work. But the companies or the powers to be, the CEOs, the people that had the money said, no, we're not going to do it. Or I had a company say, okay, we'll pay for it, but we're not going to implement it. And I said, well, what's the point of wasting your money for that? Well, then we could say we have a program. Like how ludicrous is that? So anyway, so I found my way and found the people I like to work with, and I had some great results of turning over toxic companies. But you have to be open. You have to be willing to take a look at something totally outside the norm to have a better culture or workplace. So anyway, that's just sort of about me and my company at Hard Work and how I got started and how some other things I'm doing. And getting started with kindness, that's another day, another story. But anyway, so yeah, so I'm so glad that you were able to come and join me today. And I hope you enjoy it. And I understand if you can't stay all day. Um, we all are busy people, but there's always, I encourage you to stay and hang out as much as you can because you will always learn from somebody else, maybe the same business as you, but you always learn something from somebody. And if you can't use that information, you certainly can share that person with somebody else in your group that could use him or her some their experience and how they could serve you. So let me share my screen and get started. I sort of got scheduled that Chris would come on at 10 o'clock this morning. I know it's 9:52, but I can certainly introduce him and get started and let him talk and share how he serves you and how he can help you. And basically, every speaker is given a gift to you, those that attend, and a free gift. And then if you like what they have to say, then you can reach out to them directly and ask them whatever you want to ask them. So I don't get involved in that part of it. I'm just here to promote these 12 speakers and presenters about being a change maker, change agent, or about what they do to help other businesses or people. Okay, so that's the deal today. And you should have gotten an email if you registered, you should have gotten an email with all the free gifts and how you can get them. And then if you have any problems or whatever, please let me know. Anyway, let's get started. I'll share my screen. Um, so, so we're previewing my page. I don't I don't know how to make it bigger. So I'll just take that off. So this is the preview of the Changemaker page. And uh, okay, there we go. And so Chris is an accomplished business exhilaration strategist. I've known him for quite some time, and he's calls himself a professional speaker and a corporate trainer. Also has his own radio show, and he's really just dedicated to business owners to help them um, also bring kindness into the workplace, things to think about as they're engaging with their employees. So anyway, and if you want to work with Chris, just go to his website, christophersalem.com, and you can reach out to him because I realized even though I'm showing that, you won't be able to click the links. So anyway, but if you got the email with the information, then their contact information is in there. And if you don't, I'll resend it out. But anyway, Chris, yeah, so Christopher Salim, he has his own company, and that's his website link. And his gift is Sustainable Solutions. It's an ebook about how to get more, create, to find more solutions that are sustainable for your business. So I highly encourage you to, if you can download it, go ahead. And if not, then yeah. So let's see what Chris has to say.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Changemaker Summit. And my special guest is Chris. We've known each other for a while, but I'm so glad that he decided to jump in. So he's going to do his presentation, and at the end, we'll just do a little recap. So welcome, Chris, and carry on.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. It is a pleasure to be here in Circle here on this summit. A lot of great speakers sharing the words of wisdom and insights on elevating you and your business and your environment. What we're talk about today is some insights from the way that wherever you are in your business, I'm going to share with some things that will help you to start establishing a better foundation, start moving your business forward. This is going to be imperative when it comes to marketing and also sales. It doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur, a small business, or you're running an organization of 50 plus employees. But what I like to start off with is when you think about anything successful or anything that you hold of value in your life. Let's say it's a house. So you have this beautiful house that you built. Ask yourself, what is that house?
Sorry, I'm on mute. Anyway, so thank you, Chris. Once again, he provides some great valuable insights. Like I was saying, oh, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. I'm sure you thought of that too. So Shell will be up shortly. And so just have a coffee break, takes a few minutes out. He starts at in about 15 minutes, and I'll get him going in 15 minutes and introduce you to him. So thank you. Oh, did you have a nice little break, coffee break, tea break, whatever it is that you need to do for yourself? Please do it. We'll be doing like 10 or 15-minute breaks between each speaker in case you have any questions or you want to share some dialogue. I know in the chat box, I'm supposed to watch over in YouTube chat box, but I don't see any comments here either. That's the right question. And nobody's there yet either. But anyway, we will continue on. So, and right now I'm going to be introducing you to Shal. Shal and I, another guy that we've been hanging out quite a bit along together because we're kind of both change makers or change agents. He is a prolific writer, author of several books, and Steve Godin gave him an endorsement for his guerrilla marketing to heal the world. And so if you want to work with him, the link is there. But as I said, you just go to the link. I was thinking about how I'm going to put people's links in because you can't really click them, but you can figure it out. Just type it in. So his gift offer is, of course, 5 ways your social impact business can thrive and creating wins for people, the planet, and profit. So well, I'd like to welcome you to Shal Horowitz, and let's go.
Hi, everybody. It's Mary Lynn, hard at work, and welcome to the.
I'm not muted. Just hang on. I'm not muted. I'll mute myself though. There's always technical challenges, right?
Hi, everybody. It's Mary Lynn, hard at work, and welcome to the
There's no volume.
Summit for Change Makers. I have my guest is Shel Horowitz, and we've been around for a long time together. So I'm going to let you take over, Shel, and just do your thing. Thank you.
Well, good to be here, Mary Lynn. We have known each other quite a while now, and the world keeps changing. So just to let people know a little bit about.
Well, I guess I'll have to
About the last 20 years, I've been really focused on the intersection between profitability and business.
Mary Lynn, why is there no volume on
Making
this
things
video?
better in terms of hunger, poverty, racism, catastrophic climate change, war, carbon footprint, all of these seemingly impossibly large issues.
It's shocking, and anyway, I will have to find why there's no recording, and why
why. Happening. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know why, there's no volume.
Well, when I'm in the work that I do, for about the last 20 years, I've been.
Anyway, I guess,
Interception.
I'll have to figure out what happened there. I don't know why there's no volume. It worked yesterday. But anyway, so anyway, I'll just speak a little bit about, Shell. He's talking about, how he serves, change makers and change agents, and he just shared some stories about, how he, and that's his book that he's always promoting, Heal the World, and, how he's worked with, people, how they could do simple things in their marketing and
And it's just
um,
really
that type of thing. So I don't want to spill all the beans what he talks about. So I see I'm just spilling here. Anyway, so,
It's a very exciting
that's-
time to be alive, but it's also a very scary time.
the thing
I
there,
tend to focus,
go to
I
YouTube.
tend to focus on the exciting side because
I don't know why there's no volume
too
there.
many activists focus on the gloom and doom and
Sorry, folks, I don't know what happened to Shell. There's just no volume. I don't know why it happened like that. But I will send you out the link or repost it. Because there's no reason why it's no volume on it. And, there's a stop video, but I have. Why is this sharing? Not doing anything.
on the exciting side because
Yeah,
I think
don't know.
too many activists
Anyway, you
focus
can
on
download
the
his
doom
social
and
media
end up
impact
scaring people
tips,
into
and he
inaction.
shares how and different
So
ways
I'd
you
rather
can,
excite people to take action.
have a social impact.
So
in
for
your business.
example,
So,
I will talk about
when I
things like
find the
a
volume,
rather well-known
I'll-
skyscraper
the
in New
video
York
with
City,
both.
which you may have heard of,
I'll send
built
it to
in
you.
the early
I don't know
1930s when oil
how
was
that
almost
happened.
free.
But anyway,
They
so,
put in a $13 million
yes, what I could
deep
do
energy
is,
retrofit. That's the technical phrase for it. And changed up all the windows, insulated the place, all sorts of stuff like that.
things live.
And this is already now about 10 years ago when oil was considerably cheaper than it is now. And lo and behold, that $13 million investment saved 3.3 million every year. And the building
I'll
is
just
the Empire
take a
State Building.
minute and then I'll.
So one of the
I guess
if
the
you're
show
that
must go
food
on.
company,
I don't know what happened with
you
that.
can also be
Um,
looking at
We could talk. Go ahead
getting
and,
out from under the treadmill of the
Caroline, she
so-called
must
green
come on
revolution of the
until
1940s, which turned
another
out
half-
not
for
to
about
be
a
very
half an
good
hour
at
at
all. I
least.
call it chemical.
But we could just pause here and come
And
back.
it's ended up building
Or we could
strains of
go ahead.
plants that are not that as nutritious and that are more susceptible to certain problems. There are people
So
like
let's
Vandana
just do a
Shiva in
pause
India
for
has done
about
tremendous work on this, on looking at the flaws of
minutes.
that model and how to get beyond it.
So,
So, but even some of these really huge
Together.
that there was
So,
very little
I'm going to let
organic
you
food. I've
take over,
I've
Shell,
had
and
food since the
just do your
1970s,
thing.
and it was hard
Thank
to
you.
find back. Well,
Right.
good to be here, Mary Lynn.
Oh,
We have known each
my
other quite a while
supermarket
now.
has
And not
foods
only
up.
does it have an
The world
organic
keeps
department, but
changing.
it's organic.
So
dollars.
just to
Let people know a little bit about all the work that I do. For about the last 20
And
years, I've been
the
really
demand is there.
focused on the intersection between profitability in
Hunger
business and changing the world.
I love
making
situations
things better in
that
terms of hunger,
really
poverty,
win-win racism,
One of my favorite companies to talk
climate
about is a company
change,
called D-Light.
war,
That's
carbon
D-period,
footprint,
all of
LIGHT,
these
all
seemingly
lowercase.
impossibly large issues.
D-Light makes
And
solar
solar
power
power of my
lamps
10 books
and
sells
in
them
that
at
very
low
exact
cost
area,
and on
most
time
recently
payments
Guerrilla
in developing
Field
countries.
World, which
So
I did in
if you
partnership
are
with
in,
Institute,
let's
I
just
did a
say you're
partnership
in
with
Levinson,
founder of the Guerrilla Market,
and somebody
and
helps
it's
you get
just
access
really,
to
really
these
interesting.
lights.
The
You've been
kinds of
paying
changes
dollars a month for kerosene for your kerosene. And instead now for 10
it's a
months,
very
you're
exciting
paying
time
$2 a month to buy this solar. And then once that's done, you've just saved $2 a month. Then if you are making $25 a month, as some of these subsistence farmers are, you just gained almost 10% more disposable income.
Mhm.
You are also getting a much better light than you get. And you are providing enough light, perhaps that after a day in the field harvesting your yams, you might be able to do a little cottage craft industry and make a little money on the side. Maybe you get another $5 a month. So if you now have $7 more and you only had 25 before, that's huge. And of course, your kids will be able to see better as they're doing their homework, so they'll get better grades and eventually better jobs or better opportunities to start their own cottage businesses. And this $20 lamp becomes a ladder out of poverty. Plus, it's eliminating the huge and very, very damaging hazard of flame fires from kerosene lamps. It's eliminating the toxic fumes. And it's creating jobs for the people on the ground who are selling and servicing this. So it's incredible what social change can come from a for-profit business selling a little solar lamp. I've got actually a client of mine who sells a different kind of solar lamp that fits in your pocket. It's this size. This is my phone.
Yeah.
And again, the applications there's so many things you can do with it. You can replace kerosene or Pullman lanterns when you're camping. You can use it for emergency lighting. Heaven forbid there's an airplane crash. If the planes have some of these, it'll be a lot easier to find them as people are sending search and rescue missions out. Just tons and tons of applications. So I really think there's no reason at all why we shouldn't be looking at some of these big picture items and thinking about what kinds of products and services can we develop and how can we market them? And those are the two areas where I really come in.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And consult with people on what their business specifically. It's all nothing's cookie cutter. It's all about what are their particular strengths and interests and capabilities, and how that could turn into something magnificent. Just as an example of the way my brain works, I was once doing an interview like this, and the host asked me and said, "This is all well and good for big corporations," which is ironic because I'm a home-based business and I work at tiny little entrepreneur startups, but he perceived me as working with big corporations. So he said, "What would you do for a pizza shop?" I'm like, okay, let me think about that for a minute. And off the cuff, I came up with this really multiple win idea that the pizza shop owner could go to a local inner city high school with disadvantaged students and say, "Hey, how'd you like to learn culinary and entrepreneurial skills?" And hires a few kids to make pizzas and to sell the pizzas on Friday for delivery on Monday or Tuesday, which is typically a very slow day in the food service business.
Mhm.
So, and so the kids learn how to make pizzas. Maybe the kids even learn how to grow tomatoes and basil. Let's figure they probably won't be learning how to make their own cheese for the pizza, but that's something that could happen down the road in a more involved version of the program. And they could certainly learn how to make tomato sauce and from the tomatoes they're growing. And then they learn the importance of good record keeping when they collect the money from, okay, this person is buying 2 slices of mushroom pizza and this one wants 1 slice of plain, and bringing those orders in and then delivering the orders on the day that they're ready as for a school lunch alternative.
Mhm.
And so what have you done? You've given kids who had not much of a future, you've given them something to put on their resume, and you've given them some actual skills in booking, in bookkeeping, in sales, and in horticulture.
Mhm.
You've also provided a nutritious and much tastier and much more popular alternative to the traditional school lunch for their customers at an affordable price. It should be priced enough to make a small profit for the owner and to pay these kids something, but it doesn't have to be extravagant. You don't need to spend $8 for a slice of pizza. And so, just benefits all over the place from this one simple idea.
Mhm.
I have learned a lot from a man named Amory Lovins, co-founder of a think tank called the Rocky Mountain Institute. And he talks about the importance of doing multiple things with one thing. In his case, he was specifically referring to the structure of his house, which is, if you're ever in that area, the Aspen, Colorado area, I hope it's still open to the public to tour. This house was built in, I think, 1984. It might have been 83. It was built in the suburbs of Aspen in a cold, cold climate where the main industry is based on it being cold, that being skiing. And up in the mountains, not great conditions. This guy is living in a house where when I saw him speak, he said, "I have a $5 electric for my home office." He said, "I don't have a furnace because I don't need it. It's nice and warm and cozy in my house. And just for lark, I grow bananas in there in the Colorado Rockies in a house with no furnace." Wow, I want to live in a house. So if we had done that, if we had started building in the mid-'80s houses that used those principles, I don't think we'd have gone to war. I think we would have been way, way closer to meeting our carbon targets under the Paris Agreement, probably exceeding them by now. And on it goes, just huge benefits. There are also, interestingly enough, all the studies I've ever seen show that people who live or work in a green building are happier. That the air is better, they have fewer health problems, and they just feel better about being in the space. I live in a house that was built in 1743. You can see my ceiling there. Wood timbers. And that was, to put it in perspective, that was the year Thomas Jefferson was born. So this is an old house by U.S. standards. And we put on solar fairly quickly. We bought the house in 1998. We put on solar hot water in 2001. And then a very small, really inadequate solar photovoltaic system a couple of years later, 2004. We actually had to take the hot water out of service because nobody bothered to tell me that it needed to be flushed every year and it eventually cooked itself. But by that time, the farm that we live on had developed methane digesters, processing all their cow manure and actually truckloads of food waste that get brought in here because in Massachusetts, where I live, you are no longer allowed to throw commercial quantity food waste into a landfill. So they bring it here in tractor trailers and it gets run through the digester. And not only do I and 7 other homes on the farm have free heat and hot water from this, but they are powering, I think it's 300 homes and several of the farm buildings as well. And just, again, win-win-win. And less methane is going into the atmosphere from cow burps and cow farts. And that energy is being captured and used. And I have a heat bill that's really low because the only time I'm running the heating oil system that we still have is when the other one is down. So last winter, I think it was like 12 days in the whole winter that we didn't have. And the rest of the time we had free heat. And we weren't burning oil and we weren't making more fossil fuel junk in the air. So it's just amazing what we can do.
Yeah, I love your ideas about recycling, trying to find, like you said, multiple businesses out of one idea that you have, or multiple services you have.
There are multiple functions, like Lovins, the guy I was talking about, he says there's one part in his house that has 12 different functions. And also, if you're building a house that doesn't need a furnace or a cooling system because you're so well engineered, that just freed you up $5,000 to $10,000 of capital for the energy improvements.
Right.
So it ends up that these houses have very tiny payback periods. They're really fast to monetize the investment, and then once that's paid off, then you're just seeing savings. So looking at the Empire State Building, if they finished that project 10 years ago, that means in year 4, they were suddenly faced with the terrible prospect of having an extra $3.5 million to play with that they didn't have before. Wouldn't we all like to have that kind of terrible prospect?
Yeah, absolutely. Wondering where they put that money though.
I can't address that. I don't know,
Yeah.
but my guess is that I know they did a second round of improvements. I
Yeah.
don't know what the numbers are.
Yeah, that'd be great.
If the Empire State Building built in 1931 when oil was something like 20 cents a gallon,
Yeah.
And of course the price, the amount they're saving now is much higher because oil at the time was like $2 a gallon. And now it's much more than.
Absolutely. So Shell, what else would you like everybody to know about working with you? What kind of ideas can you give them?
Yeah, well, one thing I want to do is talk about this program I'm mentioning. It'll run beginning in April, and it will be 5 weeks of a combination presentation from me, a mastermind from a group of between 4 and 8 people, and some one-to-one consulting from. It's called 5 weeks to set up a profitable green/social justice business. And you have, I believe, the information on the page for this webinar.
Yeah.
So you can just go there and click on it. And I'm planning to run it Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. But if there are enough people that want to run a different time slot, if they can get 4 people together to agree on a time slot, then I would do a second as well. And because this is a pilot first-time project, I've been told that I should be charging $1,500 to $2,000. And this first one is going out the door at only $695.
Oh, okay, very cool. Okay, that'd be very, I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in that.
And we've only just barely touched the surface of what is possible. I could riff on green buildings, I could riff on transportation. There's just way, way more than we would ever have time to do today. But I hope I've given people a good taste of what's possible, and to say that no matter what your business is, I bet that we can find a way to build in some of these kinds of wonderful social change and environmentally friendly, profitable products and services. And that I do offer a 15-minute freebie consult with anybody who asks. So that's one way of getting, and of course, the book, if you're a do-it-yourself type, the book is available at goingbeyondsustainability.com. You'll see a page for it, and it has a click through to order from your favorite bookseller, which includes the consortium of independent booksellers that I encourage people to use. Because your local economy is something important.
Right, yeah.
That company named after my favorite rainforest is not necessarily a way of building the local.
Yeah, great. Great, thank you, Shel, so much for coming on the call today and providing some great little insights, ahas, that people can stop to think about. Okay, how can I make my business more profitable, or how can I have a win-win-win for everybody that's involved in my business?
And I should just mention one thing before we go, Mary Lynn, that every study I've looked at has shown that when you do this, you typically can raise revenues and reduce costs, which means you raise your profits.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, thank you, Shal. And your information will be below the video where they can grab your ebook and a link to go and sign up for your course. So
Great, wonderful. And the website is goingbeyondsustainability.com.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Shal. Thanks and have a wonderful weekend. Okay. Okay, bye.
Well, guess what the solution was? I didn't have my earbuds on, but the volume was going. Oh my gosh, I need more coffee. So anyway, in lieu of that, before I bring on Caroline, I am going to go get a cup of coffee. And so please take a few minutes, about 15-minute break, and I'll meet you back here so you can hear Caroline Cares horrendous. She is a wonderful gem, and I know you're going to love hearing what she has to say. Okay, see you back here in a few minutes. I'm back. I went and got myself some coffee. I cannot drink coffee without creamer, half and half. So I'm in this nice little room, and the chef always borrows my plug-ins, for your phone chargers. So I go to him now and say, "Hey, you got a little cream?" I know he always has his own personal stash, but here otherwise you get the powdered crap. I hate it. So anyway, I went and got myself a cup of coffee, and maybe I'll wake up. Maybe I won't. But anyway, I'd like to welcome you back. Just we'll have a little chat, and then in about 10 minutes, I'll bring on Caroline Karras, because I think some of the speakers wanted to come on and hear their presentation and answer any questions if you had any. So that was the deal. But yeah, Caroline, she's supposed to come on at 11:30, but I'll wait till about 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And she is an interesting gal. I met her a long time ago on LinkedIn, and we just kind of connected. And we just kind of connected and went on from there. And so anyway, we just have a lot of fun. So anyway, so if you're joining us, you've just joined us, please introduce yourself in the chat. It's kind of hard to keep the chat open. I think if because I'm broadcasting. So, but yeah, so that's the thing. So meeting group chat. Yeah. So anyway, Barbara Ann just joined us. So maybe she would like to, she'll listen in and share some insights. But she's on tomorrow at 10 a.m., Barbara Ann, so be sure you come back. So right now we're going to get started with Becoming You. Caroline Karras, she lives in India, so it's really hard for her to jump on because right now it is, I think, 11 a.m. our time, which means it's like 12 hours later her time. So it's way past midnight her time. So I don't think she's gonna jump on too much. But anyway, so yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so we're looking forward to hearing everybody who wants to jump on and ask any questions or you have any suggestions. So I'm glad, I hope you enjoyed Shell's presentation. He's always interesting, an interesting guy. And like he said, there's lots of ways that we can create ideas for our business and still make a difference. Or whether it's in your community or make more profits. And I thoroughly believe that that's the way to grow. So Caroline, she is a transformational coach. And she does integrate holistic and spiritual practices in her business. So, she has mostly worked in Africa, trying to get women to the table because there's really a lack of women businesses as they're not really allowed to do too much. So be sure to grab her book, Becoming You, and ebook. And of course, it was in the email I sent out to everybody. So by all means, please grab it. Anyway, let's click on and hear what she has to say. Hello, everybody. It's Marilyn Harris of Hard at Work, and I welcome you to, I would like to introduce you to Caroline Karras. She's a really wonderful, gentle, kind human being, and she's part of the summit, so I'm really looking forward to having her on the summit this year. So Caroline, would you like to introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you serve?
Thank you. Marilyn, we have no sound.
Coming in from cultural perspectives, being a woman of color, and all of these things. And as I say this, I also realize that, it can be very easy to slip into the victim mode and certain way. But I think it's very important for us to um, choose to consciously opt out of, where, and I digress when I say that we're living in a very volatile but very
Right.
powerful time
That's true.
in our current reality. And I think I connect that back to what I was saying. I think it's very important for us to anchor in within ourselves, to understand who we are beyond this reality, this 3D reality. And so coaching, speaking, being, an influencer, um, to support people to understand and understand who they are beyond their current realities, whatever wounds they're carrying into their reality, and to really ground fully in the present moment. Um, I'm very, very passionate about seeing women step into their courage. And I think this is a very powerful time for feminine energy. There is a very evident rise of feminine energy across the world right now. And I think more than ever, with the hyper masculine, brash, harsh, aggressive energy that we are seeing globally, not just from a political standpoint, but also in businesses. I believe that we need a whole lot more of the energy that we wield consciously to come in. And this is very powerful energy. It doesn't have to be a lean in, but it's a lean back and
Right.
really be in your essence.
Mhm.
And these are things that, I'm talking about, but also working on with myself and with my clients. Um, I come with diverse, multicultural origins as well. So it helps me because it helps me listen better. It helps me, really acknowledge the value of respect for differences in an inclusive way. Um, I started an all women's community back in India in 2015 through some of the challenges that I faced as a woman starting out in business. When I got, you know, um, thrown out of the corporate world, it was the worst time and the best time because, the small part of me was trying to control and hold on to a reality which was actually not serving my greater good. And that's when I realized that I needed to work on myself. And that's painful because, some things you know about yourself from the limited perspective, but there are other things that you have to be willing to open your being up. You have to open yourself up, your heart up, just like what you stand for, and allow life to express itself through us. And that's very hard because, we have been conditioned, whether it's, across our regions academically, to understand structure, to understand control, to understand direction. And, the rise of this is opening up to unpredictability, not knowing, yielding to this, to this force that there are always signs, there are synchronicities. It comes through dreams, it comes through conversations like the ones that we have. Sometimes it's on the radio or on a book that just comes to you. And these are very beautiful, very powerful ways that our guides, our ancestors, and our higher self is trying to, guide us forward. So that's a long, winding way of letting you and our audience know um, where I've been at over the last few years. I have also, since the pandemic, and I, if I remember correctly, the summit that you held that I was a part of, that you so graciously invited me to, I think was before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Uh, but the pandemic really changed life forever in so many ways. And that was when, a vision that I had caught way back in 2010, which was about providing safe space, but also the guidance and the tools and the mentorship for people who are creators. I believe we're all creators, but some of us step into it a lot more consciously and intentionally to give them that space. But it took me 10 years to understand that I needed to believe in myself. I needed to believe in my vision and step courageously, be brave for myself, and let go of the limitations in me. And so the chrysalis was born in 2020. The chrysalis is, the energetic space where the caterpillar goes into this cocoon, goes through all of these changes in order to emerge as a beautiful butterfly.
Right.
And the reason this word came to me was primarily because I started to understand that, as a caterpillar, it has the imaginal cells of the butterfly. And while the butterfly is trying to emerge from the paradigm of the caterpillar, the immune system of the caterpillar is going to try very hard to hold the butterfly part of it back because it doesn't know that it's good for the caterpillar. It thinks it's a threat. And, I draw a parallel to ourselves because we are always in this survival mode, not really knowing how we get in our own way most of our lives. And so it would take the proliferation of these beautiful butterfly cells to overtake the immune system of the caterpillar in such a profound way that allows the butterfly to come forward. And this is a very painful process because, while we can watch and acknowledge the physical changes that are very evident between the caterpillar and the butterfly, there's also, the pain, the emotions, the physiology, and all of these inner things that are happening. And while I will take a moment to come back to the chrysalis and the project, I want to draw this analogy for us because a lot of times I think we live in a world where our emotional body, our mental body, and all of the other bodies, apart from the physical body that we carry, do not get the necessary love and compassion and the safe space that is required in order to go through all that transformation. And I think it's important for us to hold space for ourselves and extend grace to ourselves. Sometimes as coaches, it's very easy to extend grace to someone else, but we need to extend grace to ourselves as well because all of these changes are hard, they're challenging. And, oftentimes we go through several egoic deaths, the dark night of the soul. And, we are questioning, is this really it? Am I doing the right thing? Should I go back? But, through those questions and through the doubts, when I sit to reflect and I pray and I meditate, I'm not going back ever. I mean, it's only going forward from here, regardless of how hard and challenging and unpredictable it is. And I'm kind of in this hot moment at the moment too. And, we know about that, about that behind the scenes as well. And so drawing all of that into the chrysalis, um, I gathered, a small team, and we launched a community of youth in Nigeria on the blockchain. And what we focused on through the chrysalis for a year and a half was working with them to teach and to train on the economic and financial tools available as a result of blockchain. And Africa is the second or third largest user of Bitcoin. And while, there is a lot of polarity in terms of usage, but also the deeper understanding of the utility behind it. And I didn't know anything about it before I got into it, but I jumped right in because, it kind of aligned, the opportunity came my way. Someone told me about it. It kind of aligned to that 2010 vision. And I said, yes, let's do it with the community that we already know. So we had about close to 200 youth in that community. And what I learned was, in places like Nigeria and other countries in Africa, whenever there is a geopolitical volatility or issues, banks just close. They don't have access to withdraw, receive, send money. And in some parts of the world, we take all of this for granted. We don't even think about these things, but this is a reality for so many people. And it really moved me because I realized if we could provide them the tools and the literacy in order to empower them to override many of these barriers, it makes their life so much easier to operate on a day-to-day, go to the grocery store, buy something for their children. Um, and I do not take any of this lightly because I think it's really, really important. So through this 1.5 year, uh, I started to have deeper conversations with the youth. And what I learned through that, and what I also applied as a modality was pure and deep listening. I realized that a lot of the youth, if I were to compare it with another developing country like India, I feel that the investment, the involvement in sustainability initiatives with respect to women empowerment, with respect to climate resiliency, is so intense and so high, the degree of involvement, that it really moved me, my heart, when I realized that with the limited resources that they have, if they, are being moved and willing to do the work that all of us should be doing for the planet at the moment, healing, restoration, uh, you know, uh, being able to appreciate the limited resources that we have. I said, why can't we take chrysalis to them instead of solutioning just financial literacy? Let's embrace the entire, all facets, all spheres of sustainability. So 2023, by 2022 end, that was a decision that we collectively, came together on. And we said, instead of just focusing, our mentorship, our guidance, and all of these things that we were providing in a narrow way of just looking at the financial part, let's open it up. And so I started to again learn about sustainability. What is it all about? How did this come about? Why do we need it right now? And how do we do it at a grassroots level? So 2023 has been very, very, it's been good chaos. It's been new relationships to, activate, harnessing trust as a currency, because, most of the time we don't meet many people like you and me,
Yeah.
but it's a sense that you get when you're talking to someone, and the kind of language that they use and the energy that they exude. In your heart that this is the kind of person that you want in your tribe. So 2023 has been all about opening up the sustainability landscape, working with the youth, not just in Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, Zimbabwe, but being able to understand and to recognize what might be this one area, because sustainability, especially from a UN perspective, has 17 goals, and and it's very, very inexhaustive, and we want to start somewhere. So we have kind of crystallized it, or allowed it to crystallize itself down to woman empowerment. So 2024 is the year, this year, when we have partners in Chicago, Arizona, in Africa, in India, in Germany, who have been willing to come together to make this a reality for 100 women in Africa. So that is really where my mind and my heart and my soul is at right now. There are a lot of modalities coming together with respect to it. But all of that to say, I think this journey, in my understanding, is really about being true and being sincere with, my own growth, who I am becoming, what my core values are, and how I would embody the very same mission that I am, envisioning for other humans, especially women, as we get into this year. So I'm
Yeah.
going to take a pause and love to hear from you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I was just, as you're talking about how often we think the bad that happens to us is bad, but actually it's an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to just, further advance ourselves, right? So, yeah, when you said that, oh, yeah, that's true. How many times
Yeah.
have we had bad times and thinking that's horrible, or what's gonna happen to me? But it's an opportunity to grow and change, open up
Yeah.
our hearts, what we're saying. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's important. I think what you bring up is really important, because unless we have the right guidance, maybe studying, apprenticeship, a good coach, fellowship, all of these modalities, most of the time, most people are asking the wrong questions. When something goes wrong, they're asking, why me? Why is this happening to me? For me? When is it going to end? And the universe is a mirror. It just reflects back everything that you send out. So the moment you're doing that, it's going to give you the answer. It's a reflection on a very low vibratory frequency. And so through the study, through the fellowship, through guidance with a coach, apprenticeship, we start to elevate the way we ask questions and the way we perceive these seeming challenges. And just looking at it as lessons, for us to hone in those skills, uh, uh, practicing gratitude, strengthening resilience and endurance. And you and I know this well, that this lifetime is not just about, everything going our way, but really being in a receiving mode and yielding to uh, what life is trying to show us. And my belief is that, whatever we call it, God or the divine mind or life, is always trying to express more of itself through our lives. So we have a responsibility every day.
Yeah.
Sure, you can stop for a break, but you got to come back. And when you're back, you have to really, we have to really take accountability for our lives, because we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to, being in service, being able to support others through their journey. So this is really something that's very, very close to my heart, and something that I know that you share as well through your work.
Thank you, Caroline. So I'm just gonna end the call at the moment, but I would love to share with people how that you're giving an ebook, right? as a free freebie. So they can download it. Below this video will be the download link, and they can just click on it and download the book. And if they further want to work with you, then there'll be a link that they can reach out to you directly, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's right. Thank you so much, Marilyn.
Yeah, yeah,
I very much appreciate your heart and
yeah.
the work that you're doing. You're a very powerful woman.
Oh, I guess I just have to own it. That's the challenge. But anyway, thank you so much for Caroline for joining me today. And we got through the whole call without being interrupted.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day. And anybody
as
that's
well.
listening, I'm sure that with your open heart, you can reach out to Caroline and she can help you. Okay, thanks very much. So I hope you enjoyed Caroline. I would love to talk with her for another half hour. And but I just kind of made this summit like a half hour session. But we have reached out since this episode, and I'm sure that we'll be doing some work together at some point in time. So anyway, I hope that you got some insights and some ideas about making a transformational change in yourself and with your clients, whether you're coaching or whether you're mentoring or whatever. So it is true, because as she was saying, I've gone through my metamorphosis as well for my business, and I started here, and then I had my aha or kind of stuff, and it's quite true that even sometimes today, this time frame, I might say something happened, and I'll say, why me? Because, and then later the answer comes to me. It's like, because they felt safe enough to vent to you, even though you didn't agree upon it, but you held space for them while they were venting. And somebody said, well, that's because you didn't set a boundary. And I said, no, I didn't even know what was happening. And but I realized later that at some point in time, they felt safe enough to say, big blurb, whatever they had to say. And it was really because I'm pretty approachable. I'm pretty empathetic and I do listen well. But, some things she said I didn't agree with, but I just kept my mouth shut and just let her, vent off. And I found out later she does this quite often with people. But just the same, it's like, wasn't about why me, it was just because, she felt safe around me to say what she needed to say. And so I really encourage you to think about, how do you hold space? Like Caroline talked about that. How do you hold space for yourself? How do you hold space, not just for others, but how do you do it for yourself? And I think that's the biggest challenge, is that we don't give ourselves enough grace. So that's my 2 cents. So I hope you enjoyed her presentation. And truly, if you want to work with her, just go to her website, chrysalis.com, and you can reach out to her and see how you can collaborate with her. So next. Barbara Ann, did you have any comments, or what did you think about her talk? You could just unmute yourself and share.
I thought she was great. I'm looking forward to hearing more from her as you continue to collaborate with her going forward.
Yeah. I think because I'm going to be doing the podcast, relaunching the podcast, I think it's probably doing maybe a collection, of podcast shows with somebody, and see how we can get people on board to what we're doing, what we want to do, and see who else wants to come and join us. So
Awesome.
it's just like for your movement and how you serve people, is like, how do you want more people on board with you? And if you do, is there a project that maybe perhaps that you would like to collaborate with other people with? It's just putting a seed in your mind to think about. Doesn't mean you have to, But yeah, I think that was more as I think about her. And there's lots of ways to do it because she's really intentionally in Africa and like she said, and even her own home country, India, kind of type of thing. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So we're just gonna take a few minute break. I've been taking like kind of like 10-minute breaks between speakers. I'm a little ahead of schedule, but that's okay. If people want to watch it, they can go on YouTube. Watch it. So yeah, so we'll just take a 10-minute break and I'll just mute myself because we're not really broadcasting. And do take time. And their next speaker is Dr. Summer Watson. She also considers herself a high performance coach. Very lovely lady. And certainly well worth listening to. And so I look forward to letting you hear what she has to say. So I'm going to have some more coffee and wake up. If you want to continue on, Barbara, and talk, and we can have a conversation, still open to doing that too, if you want to do that during the break. So anyway, so I know it. And Barbara Ann is coming on tomorrow on Thursday morning. She's the first speaker. So do come back and hear what Barbara Ann has to say about her movement and what she's working on and challenging people to get on board with her. Okay. So let's just take a few minute break and we'll be right back.
Well, I'm back. Apparently, when I mute myself, there's no sound. I find that really wrong. But anyway, so I'm back and we're gonna listen to what Dr. Summer Watson has to say. Yeah, there's so many speakers that have some great ideas and just trying to figure out, okay, make notes of it and say, okay, how can I kind of add this to my business, or how can I partner or collaborate with somebody else, you know, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur like myself, or so many of us, it's like we need to like kind of come together and see what we can do. And we may or may not want to do it, but that's okay. You hear me? You may want to collaborate with some other people, and you may not want to, and that's okay too. But I think the challenge when we're solo entrepreneurs is sometimes it's better that we reach out and work with each other than trying to figure everything out on our own. But so anyway, so as we go through, just as a reminder, you should have got the email with the links to get the freebie. If you're unable to get it, please let me know. I'm using a new platform and there are some glitches that I'm still learning. So anyway, so let's carry on. So Dr. Summer Watson, let's put her on. And she's also giving you the 10 tips to support being an emotionally agile entrepreneur. So let her talk her way into your heart.
Hi, everybody. It's Mary Lynn of Hard at Work and Master Biz Builders. And we're doing this wonderful summit about marketing for change makers. And I'd really like you to meet Summer. She's a fantastic lady and she really knows her stuff, very, very much of a change maker. So welcome, Summer.
Hey, thank you so much, Mary Lynn. How are you?
I'm doing great. Busy as usual, but good. We're all good.
Yeah,
So I'm
that
so
is
glad to
fantastic.
have you. And so if you would just like to just introduce yourself and tell us, you know, what you do and how you help people, and you know the drill. So,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, my name is Dr. Summer Watson. I have a doctorate in clinical psychology, a master's in human services with a specialty in community counseling, and a bachelor's for your neck of the woods, actually, Mary Lynn, from Berkeley,
Okay.
where I studied English literature. And right after that, I had jumped into law school, but found that that wasn't necessarily for me. So I knew I wanted to help people. So I went in a different direction. I went in the direction of human services. So ever since I've been, 24, 25, I've been in this field and been helping people in a lot of different ways. So right now, I own a business. I established that business in 2018. It's called For Women. It starts with a K. And it stands for how we as humans kinetically connect. So as we move through the world, how do we connect? How do we make those connections and those meaningful connections?
Right.
How do we organically learn from one another? How do we reshape our lives through diverse interaction? And how do we, most importantly, empower each other to promote change? And that is what you do every day. Thank you, Mary Lynn.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Core Women and other things you do to promote change for women and how you help women. Because I know you do such a great job with that, but maybe just tell us a little bit more about that.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I love helping women. I've always wanted to create a space for women, but I also like working with men. And men have reached out to me and said, you know what? You have a business for women, but how can I work with you? How can we do a podcast together? How can we, because I do have a podcast, and Core Women is a coaching and production company. And so what I mean by that is I do coaching with solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, organizations, businesses to really help them become more aware and more emotionally agile. Number one, that works into their strategy as business owners, and two, be great connectors. And I mean really good rooted connectors that really have those meaningful connections, not just networking. And I don't use that word a lot because it reminds me of when we go back, and I'm going to date myself here, when you go back into the 80s, and that word was really about connecting computers, right? And that's more digital. And so for me, where networking was, and so they have these, what they call these butterfly, things that would connect all these computers. And I'm like, yeah, but where's the connection there? So we use the word network a lot, but I'm thinking, you know what? I want to change that to meaningful connection, because for me, that makes a significant difference. There's a shift there in regards to mind and spirit. And so for me, that connection is so wonderful, both in person and digitally. So what I mean by, and I'm going to go back to what I mean by production, is when I started my company, I wanted to make sure that, yes, I love coaching. Yes, I love working with people, but what can I produce? What can I produce to bring people together to make that meaningful connection? And so I started producing in-person seminars, digital seminars. I produced and had no idea what I was doing, started producing a podcast called Core Women, the Core Women podcast. And I jumped in. I was nervous. I was like, how do I even do this? So if you go back and listen to my first podcast to today, and now I've published probably over 288 podcasts since 2018. There's a significant difference, but the intention behind each and every one of those episodes is the same, is to create a safe platform to feature women to talk about their stories, their journeys, their resiliency, their setbacks, how they overcame those setbacks, their tenacity. And every single one of those episodes, every 288 of those episodes so far, are meaningful to me.
Yeah, no, I was on one, and it was probably the best interview, like I said before to you, is the best show to be on. And you felt totally like really well connected, a deep connection. Yeah. So in your deep connection, how do you relate to change makers? What do you think they should be doing besides moving their movement?
Yeah. Okay. Very good question. And thank you for asking it. So really from the framework that I come from, and having worked in human services for so long, having worked in the nonprofit, for-profit arenas, one of the things I noticed from leaders is, how do they communicate? How is it that they're communicating? How is it that they're actually connecting? How are they listening? What is their confidence like? What's their emotional agility like? So that means to me, how do you respond versus react? And there is a distinct difference, right? Your responsive connectors are back here in your amygdala. So your reaction. And so when you're in that fight or flight mode, that's all from that amygdala, right? It surpasses that thinking brain, which is up in the front, goes back to the back of the brain. I know I'm getting a little technical here, but there's a difference. There's a difference between what can I do in this situation? How do I think about this? And what is the end result that I want? And to me, that's huge, because even if I step back in my history, and let me tell you a little bit about my history and why I'm here today, is because when I was growing up, there was a lot of chaos in my life. So my parents were really young. My mom was 17 when she had my brother, and she was with my father, and my father was 19, and then she was 19 when she had me, and I think my dad was 21 at the time. So they were a young couple. They were infatuated with each other. There was that spark of romance, but they didn't really know each other.
Right.
And as they began to learn about each other, I'm not sure if they really gelled. And so they came from very distinctively different backgrounds. And so they just, it was tough for them. And so from that point, I was kind of I wouldn't call myself a sickly child, but I did have a major issue going on. And when I was 6 months, I had a hole in my small intestine.
Mm.
And so what that meant was nobody knew. Nobody knew what was happening. And my mom would take me back and forth to the doctor. And she was a young mom. And
Yeah.
they would just say, she's got the flu, she's got a cold, she's got a this. Well, anyway, I went into a coma, almost died. They took me into exploratory surgery, and basically they found the hole. And
Mhm.
from that, it led to multiple surgeries. And because my mom was young, they eventually split up. My mom and dad split up.
Mhm.
The relationship was a bit abusive, so they ended up splitting up. My mom went her way, my dad went her way. It's not that I didn't ever have, contact with my dad, because I did, because I ended up living with them. But here's the thing, I was with my mom, then I was with my grandparents, then I was with my dad, and then I was with my mom again. So during those times, I had a lot of opportunity for how did I feel?
Mhm.
I felt alone sometimes. Sometimes I felt abandoned. Sometimes I felt extremely loved. Sometimes, and I went through these up and downs of emotion to the point where I'm like, I need to look at my emotions. I need to be able to identify them,
Mhm.
understand them,
Mhm.
and then respond versus react to them in every situation. And I'm not saying that in every situation, we're going to be like, oh, let me think of the end result here. But we all get upset.
Yeah.
We all have emotional days. I get it. I get it. But the more we practice emotional agility and being aware of our emotions, guess what happens, especially as human beings in business, as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, business owners, that allows us to connect better with the people that we work with, the people that work for us, the people that we're trying to connect with. So our brands, so there are so many things that being emotionally agile really infuses into our daily lives and how we connect with people from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective, from a human perspective. So that's why I think being emotionally agile is so key to being successful as a human being personally and professionally.
Yeah. As you're speaking, what came to me was, you're like the personal brand person.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
if you ever look at Hallmark commercials, if you look at Budweiser commercials during the Super Bowl, guess what? They're connecting with you emotionally.
Yeah.
They're pulling at those heartstrings. They're getting you to think, but it's not here. It's
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It's in your heart. And
Yeah.
so when they get you, they get you. And that's what you want. You want to understand that, though. And
Yeah.
it really starts with, how do I recognize my emotions? So what I would say is, every day, or if there's a situation that arises, do an emotional check-in.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling? Have you ever went to counseling, or have you ever went to a coaching session where they have a sheet of paper and there's all those little faces on them?
Yeah.
And they say, how are you feeling today? But it's like, you really, really, really want to be able to name it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling upset, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling confused, or I'm feeling, such and such a way, because that helps you identify and be able to explain to others what you're going through.
Mhm.
And when you can do that, guess what? Most of the time, people will be more understanding,
You're more willing to listen to you.
willing to listen. Exactly. And as change makers, we really want to be in touch with our own emotions, and
Mhm.
also be emotionally agile, know how to really understand where that confidence comes from that day, or in that situation, or with our clients, or on that TEDx stage, right? Or as authors, we want to tap into that and understand that, because that our emotions are infused, guess what? In everything we do,
Right. Right.
from the time we get up to the time we go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I think that it's a key component of being successful in everything that you do and in your profession.
Mhm.
And then the other aspect to this is, as you become more aware of what it means to be not just the emotionally intelligent or EQ, right? But emotionally agile. And I'm a doer. I've always been a doer. I always said, I may not be the smartest person, but if I do 80%, I
Yeah.
can get things done. If I research, if I do, I can get things done. And that's to me the difference between emotional IQ versus or EQ versus emotional agility. Emotional agility is actually putting action into play. So understanding your emotions. What does that mean? When you understand those emotions, how do you respond? What are the next steps to respond? How do you communicate how you're feeling? How do you communicate and listen actively to others? So, and how do you show your own confidence, right? As a business owner. So through your marketing, through your personal affect. So there's just so many things, and it's not just overcoming, it's understanding. It's first understanding to be able to overcome. But I think you'll have to do less overcoming if you understand, and then you take those steps to emotional agility and emotional response. So you'll be more effective in everything that you do. So I think that also leads to that connection component. How are you connecting with community? How are you making those meaningful relationships? How are you reaching out? How are you responding? How are you connecting? How are you digging a little deeper? So my question is to the folks out there listening, when you have a meeting, an in-person meeting, let's say, as an example, is it, hi, my name is such and such. Here's my business card. See you later. Is it something? Let's connect. Let's do it. Let's do a coffee, right? Or is it, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me more. I want to learn about you, John, Susie, Jane, whoever you are. Oh, I see. So how did that happen? And you start really engaging in a real conversation. You really get connected and show interest in somebody else. You really, truly walk out everything and just want to know about that person. Those connections, those are meaningful.
Right. And they're your best friends in the end, or allies, if you will, if you ever need any and want any, right?
And not only that, and that is true, but not only that, let's say, for instance, we switch the platform from in-person to digital, right? And social media. Many of these people on my social media accounts, I have never met in person, but guess what? We have some of the most incredible connections. Let me give you an example, Marilyn. So November 29th, I had surgery for a malignant nodule in my lung. And prior to that surgery, 1 week prior to that surgery, a bunch of people from my LinkedIn account had connected with me. And they said, hey, guess what? We have a surprise for you. And I was like, oh my gosh, what for? They just said, because we want to be a support. We want to bring a smile to your face. And in my email, I received a gift that was worth almost $1,600. And I could do anything with it. It wasn't a GoFundMe. It was just a gift where they put these things on cards and you could get any card you want to do anything with. And I was like, what? But we have such a close connection that somebody started this message in the back end. They all started DMing, they all got together and they got this beautiful gift for me. And then on top of that, hold on. Don't leave me. Okay. I also received during this time, and again, from many of my digital connections, because of the relationships we've built over time, they sent me a book. They sent me a book and created this book. And it basically is a book where they've reached out to people on my Facebook page, on my LinkedIn page, on my Instagram page, to write pages and pages of stories about me.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Powerful.
my friend Oleg Loki put this together. And all these people, they even got in touch with my brother. I'm like, how did you even get in touch with them? How did you know? Like, it was amazing. And I got that in the mail after surgery. So it was another little something to say, oh my gosh, I have made this community of people that many of them I have never met in person.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them I have, and we've had amazing times together. And we felt like we already knew each other because of what we created digitally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Together as collaborators, as business owners,
Mm-hmm.
as friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying that some of the most important things here is that emotional connection and that community connection, being emotionally agile, being emotionally responsive, and connecting, having those meaningful connections mean so much. And really, when you do, guess what happens? Those are the people that lift you up on your social media pages, whether it be through your business, if you're having a personal issue, a professional issue, those are the people that you can tap into and learn from, just like I learned from you, just like I learned from many of my other folks
Colleagues,
on media,
friends.
colleagues, exactly. So it is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you so much, Summer. That was an awesome story that you shared and how it helps so many other people, change makers. So we were going to, you're going to give away a PDF. What is the PDF about again? It's a tip,
Yeah.
right?
Say again, I'm sorry.
It's going to be a little tip book, right?
Yeah, it's a little tip book. It's tips on how to be more emotionally agile. And so I think that just with these simple tips and reading through them and actually practicing these different things will actually help you make different choices and better habits, create better habits.
Right.
So I hope that people benefit from this tip book. And if you have any questions, always feel free to come to me and ask.
Yeah, thank you, Summer, so much. And plus, below Summer's video, there'll be a link if you want to work with her more. She inspires you enough to say, I want to work with her. So the link will be below her video and you could go to her and check her out. So thanks so much, Summer, to be on the call with me. I so appreciate it. Enjoyed your tips and your inspiration and your bubbly attention.
Thank you so much.
Spirit. Spirit. Okay, great. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll all see you on the other side.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, Barbara, what do you think?
Love her. We have a lot of similarities in some of the things that we do, and with some minor differences, and I love that. I always say that there's right, there's wrong, there's different.
Yeah.
And everything about her is just wonderful.
Yeah. When I first heard about her talking about being an agile entrepreneur, I'm like, what does agile mean? Like, it's almost you have to look it up, right? But I hear what she's saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's a wonderful gal. Like I said, I was on her podcast, and it was probably the best podcast I've been on. Like, she was there, present with you. So, and asked a lot of great questions, of course, as people do. As you learn what you're doing, you stand in your own ground.
Absolutely.
It's sort of kind of what I don't know if you were there, but I think when Caroline talked, you're very powerful, Mary Lynn. And I went, oh, really? So it's just one of those things you have to own, get used to the idea. So anyway, yeah. So I'm so glad that you're here, able to be present with me today. I so
Me
appreciate
too.
it. Yeah.
And hi, everybody who's watching this on demand.
Well, they're live streaming on YouTube as well right now.
And hi to YouTube
on my
folks as well.
Yeah. because they'll all see it after, I'm sure, or now. So anyway, it's all good. It's all good. So I think Matt is up at 1:30, so probably I'm kind of going a little faster, I guess, than I anticipated. But that you always notice these things. Okay, timing shorter. But anyway, it's okay. But we can talk about Matt. He has also a different perspective about, you know, communicating and things like that. So we could talk about him later. But so how you doing, Barbara Ann? You doing good?
I am. And again, hi to everyone who's watching on YouTube. It's an honor to be here. And kudos to you for putting this together. All these diverse people.
Yeah.
I know that it's hard for you to own that, but it's a massive lift.
Yeah. I think because I'm learning using a new platform and just doing Zoom, that that's been challenging. I worked so hard on it behind the scenes, but overall people like the platform and they like the way it looks. So it's just a matter of continuing to learn it and go from there. There's glitches, I know, but I'll get them fixed eventually.
And the great thing is that it is being recorded because I had a speaking engagement when Caroline's session was airing. So
Okay.
I didn't get to see her. And
Yeah.
but the last two have been phenomenal. And I really can't wait to hear what Matt has to say.
Yeah. Well, as a speaker, you're going to get the replay anyway. So you can listen to everybody again because you may not be able to be here for the 2 full days, and I get that. So yeah. Matt and I have been friends for a long time. So I really like what he says about the Enneagram and everything. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting presentation.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to his because I'm one of a number of consultants around the country that is certified through a company that's called Predictive Index.
Oh, okay.
Predictive Index, sorry, Predictive Index folks, but the truth is that it is based on Enneagram concepts.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious. More and more coaches are getting into the really what was the foundational approach
Right.
before other companies automated it. And so it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say.
Yeah. And I understand the PQ also. I took that introductory offer that he did. It's also based on the Enneagram, but the way he presents it, he doesn't ever mention it, but he just has his own take on the Enneagram.
Yeah, Shirzad Shamin, who I
Yeah.
talk about when I talk. Yeah, that's positive intelligence. And then there's predictive index, which is so confusing because they're both PI and I do both.
Yeah.
But you're right. Shirzad's model has elements of Enneagram in it.
Yeah.
Positive intelligence is like uh, uh, an easier way through an assessment to kind of match up.
Right.
Predictive index is like Enneagram on steroids.
Oh, okay.
It is it's a very robust and powerful system that is based in a lot of large numbers and surprisingly accurate. But this is going to be the opportunity to like peek behind the curtain,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
see
yeah.
what the foundational
Yeah.
there's seeing how this all got started because you can actually learn this process and do it on your own and figure
Right.
out how to map teams, individuals
Right.
and teams by doing what he does. So it's going to be a really interesting talk to hear.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm part of him and somebody else. We've had this little mastermind group and we meet every 2 months. And it's kind of interesting. He knows the numbers so well that he'll say, I think the people, because he's really into climate change. He says, these numbers are really into climate change. And so I need to attract more of these numbers into his campaign for climate change. Getting rid of gas stoves and all this other stuff. And so he's really into that. And it's like it's almost so like, because he knows my number and So he tries to reach to me in my emotional way of being about how he can get his way. And I'm going like, no, it's not working this time. I know your number, but so it's learning to figuring out what everybody's number is and communicating more effectively. Like there's some people, I don't communicate that well with some people, and I'm going, okay, what's their number and how can I communicate more effectively with them?
Yeah, and
And
I think
without putting them down or anything else, but you know, there's lots of ways of lots of different like you say, tests and ways of being to do that. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, he's very committed, and so I'm sure that he'll be able to share a little bit of how he got into it. But he's been doing it for a very long time. So yeah. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me, and maybe let's pop in there and see what he has to say. So here we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. It's Marilyn Harris of Part at Work and Summit, the Master Biz Builders Summit. It's really for change makers, but I'd like to welcome my guest, Matt Schiegel, and he's going to talk about the Enneagram. And it's very popular these days. So, Matt, just take it away.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marilyn, for having me. And so, yeah, my name is Matt Schlegel, and I've been using the Enneagram as a tool for over 20 years now. I started as an engineer and became an engineering manager, and I soon discovered that leading people was more important than leading electrons. And so I started to study different tools. And that's about the time I discovered the Enneagram. And I found that it was a very powerful way of helping people understand both themselves, those around them, their teammates, resolve different issues that might come up, and the more I used it, the more powerful I found. And at one point, my engineering brain asked the question, why does the Enneagram use numbers? Why not colors or letters or animals or something like that? And it turns out there is a reason why the Enneagram is numbers. And there are 9 types. Each one of them has a number: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it turns out that is the order of those personality dynamics is exactly the order in which humans solve problems. So the Enneagram is not just a personality system, it's also a problem-solving methodology. And that's not a well-known aspect of the Enneagram, which is why I was compelled to write my book, Teamwork 9.0, and describe that aspect of the Enneagram, and then how I have used it in the corporate environment to help teams collaborate to solve big challenges that they didn't really know how to solve, and get them to focus and come together and solve those big problems. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit, Matt, about some examples of how you have used the Enneagram in your workplaces with your team, and the beginning stages and the end?
So I'll talk about the problem solving aspect of it, since that's not well understood. And what I find is when I come into a company that has a problem that they're struggling to solve, I'll find that there's a lot of finger pointing. People think that the problem is not their problem, it's somebody else's problem. And meanwhile, the CEO is saying, we got to solve this problem, and nobody is taking ownership. And what happens, I find, is that people get very accustomed to working in their business and not necessarily on their business. And the things that make you really good at focusing in your business, be it marketing or operations or engineering, those may not be the same skills that you need to kind of pop up a level and rethink how everybody is working together collectively. And so when I come into a company, I will work with the management team, usually somebody responsible for each one of the areas of the company, operations, engineering, project management, all of those. And, I'll have everybody describe the problem that they're experiencing in front of everybody else. And something really magical happens when I do that, because coming into the meeting, everybody thinks that the problem is somebody else's. And then after the meeting, people realize, oh, we all have the same problem. And it kind of creates this mindset shift that, it's not somebody else's fault. It's something that we're all experiencing, each from a different point of view, albeit, but it's still all the same problem. It's like, the elephant in the room. Some people will say, oh, I'm being crushed, or oh, I'm getting wet, or oh, so everybody's experiencing that elephant in a different way, but the main problem is the elephant. So it's getting people to realize that they do have this common problem, and getting them to then focus on solving that together. And once you get over that hump, then I take them through the process of the Enneagram, through the 9 steps, and they come together and come up with a solution that they all agree to, they're all bought into, and that when they implement it, it sticks and lasts. And it's really remarkable how effective it is when you walk them through those 9 steps.
Yeah, also because to understand your own numbers, right?
Well, I don't necessarily, I don't do that with people, that usually when I'm hired, they're not hiring me to do, an Enneagram personality assessment. What they're doing is they're hiring me to get this problem solved. And I really don't need to know their, people's Enneagram types to actually manage them through that process of the 9 steps. But as a facilitator, it's really useful to me to know, because I can tell at this point what the Enneagram types of the different people are without even having to test them. So I can tell, by the different people on the team, where the team is going to do well and where they're going to struggle. So what I find is that each personality type, that's their strength, right? So the type 6s are going to do great in step 6. The type 3s are going to do great at step 3, and on around. So, but if I see that, hey, there are no type 6s on this team, then I know that the team's going to struggle when we get to that step, and we all need to help, put a little more effort into facilitating the team through that step.
Interesting. So anything else you'd really like to share that you'd like more people to know more about you and how you work?
Yeah, so I love working with teams that are experiencing some kind of challenge, and right now, there's so much volatility in the world, and everybody is dealing with supply chains or a changing mix of customers and clients, or the obsolescence of one business and needing to focus on another, or perhaps hired a company and you need to integrate two different companies. All of those scenarios are points at which the leaders of a organization need to come together and rethink how they want to work together in the new environment. And so, that's the one thing I would, leave people with, is that sometimes it is okay to not just keep heads down working in your business, but pop up and think about how everybody can work together better in whatever new challenging environment you're facing.
Yeah, because quite a few change makers, you're working on your passion, your movement, but you don't stop to think, oh, crap, I need help here, but I don't know who to turn to, or oh, I have to do that too. But usually you're in a team, and so somebody will bring up that concept to you quite often. But sometimes you're just focused, straight on, right? So you're not really thinking about all this other stuff you have to do and acquire, and who do I ask for help and whatever. So I guess they can call you.
Absolutely, yeah. And for those people who are, I'll always preface when I take a group through this process.
Thank
I'll
you.
preface it by saying, this is based on the Enneagram, and I'll share my book with them if they're interested.
Right.
And
Thank you.
some people inevitably
Talk to you
are
later. Are you
interested
gonna
in
be here for a
learning
bit?
more about the Enneagram itself and how powerful that is, and wanting to know their own Enneagram style and how they fit in. And that's just delightful when people want to do, go down that path and explore that. And I love doing that as well.
Right. So what is your most specialty? So you like working with teams and helping them get over their problems and their challenges. And then from there, what else can they do to work with you besides just fixing those things?
Well, yeah. So, one of the things, my background is in engineering and technology and manufacturing and quality. So, I often will get pulled into working, after after we go through the process, right?
Right.
We'll come up with a plan,
Mhm.
and that plan gets implemented in step 8. So step 8 is the implementation, and oftentimes they won't. This organization that wants to implement this plan, they may not have the resources available to essentially project manage that implementation. And so they'll have me stay on, and I will help project manage, the implementation, reporting back to the senior management, and letting them know the progress as we collectively implement whatever we decided to implement. And so that's another way that I can help companies. And because of my background, I'm good at working in those types of environments of product development, manufacturing, and those types of areas.
Okay, great, cool. So Matt, where do we find out about you? I know that below this video, there's going to be a link to where they can go work with you. So your free offer right now is what? The first
Yeah,
chapter?
well, I have a free Enneagram assessment on my website, and then anybody who would like, I always can share the first chapter of my book, Teamwork 9.0, if you want to just get a taste of what's in the book. And then you can find me and more about my business at the website evolutionaryteams.com. And then you can find the book Teamwork 9.0 on Amazon.
Okay, so what we'll do is have below this video, we'll have the free offers, and then we'll have a link to your website, Evolutionary Team, of how if they want to work with you further, right?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Marilyn. I appreciate
Okay,
it.
cool. I'm so glad that we were able to do this for you, to get
Thank
this done. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about you later.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Talk to you soon. Okay, bye.
Uh, so, did you enjoy that?
He was awesome. He did not disappoint by any means. I could have listened to him for another half hour or more.
Yeah. No, he's very passionate and very knowledgeable about the Enneagram. I found it interesting that he said, I don't do the numbers, get people to do their Enneagram. And not so much for him, but for the other people in the room, so they would learn a little bit more about themselves. Not that, because I find that if everybody knows, so not necessarily a number, but they know more about how they behave in a workplace and because it affects not just your workplace, it affects your communication at home too, right? So I
Yeah.
found that a little interesting. He says he doesn't do that. I went like, wow, but that was good. It's still good.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really great.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
definitely going to go do that assessment because
yeah.
I'm curious. Yeah, hey, when you deliver assessments, you're always like looking to see, okay, which assessment's going to get it the most accurate, which one's not. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's very accurate. I encouraged him to let people do the assessment because I think it really helps you understand who you are. And it's not to say that you don't do, because like I'm a number 2. So number 1s and 3s work really well. And sometimes we flip in those personalities once in a while. And but you have to know those numbers to understand what you're doing. What am I being a 3 now or 1? And most of the time I'm in 2s. And I know that just a sidebar, I remember Matt saying to me, "No, you're a number 6, just like me." And I'm going like, "No, I'm not." Because he would tell me, he says, "I gotta have a list. I gotta exactly know what I'm doing the next day." Well, I do lists, but I'm not stuck on that list. It's like, okay, I can't do that without this. I'm not like that, but he's like that. So it's just, I'm sure he doesn't mind me sharing this because it's just he just says he's just so exact in that way. And me, I might write up a list of things I could do, like I have right now on a side of paper, like who's up next, because it's not on this sheet, right? But I follow it, but not really, as you can tell. But it's sort of like it's very interesting. I highly recommend people to fill it out and find out where you fit into the world of this, because I think it's the most accurate. Like I've done the Myers-Briggs, I've done all those kind of different testing, right? And sometimes they work to a point, but they don't go further enough along, right? So yeah, I'd be very interested to hear what your number is.
yeah, I'll have to figure it out.
Yeah, so cool. So let's just take a 10-minute break or so. And because we just have Merle and she's supposed to be, I have her scheduled around 2 o'clock, but I'm so far ahead of the game. So but that's okay. So tomorrow will just be shorter too, probably. But
Well, I was going to say the other option is I can interview you.
yeah, but what would you want to say? We can interview me later.
Well,
Yeah,
I
or
would
you
hate,
can ask me any questions you want. Go
yeah, I was
ahead.
gonna say, no, I would hate to have Meryl miss the ability to be available for questions about her session.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So what we could do is just end it now and then just come back on around 2 o'clock. We could do
sounds
that.
good.
Okay, let's do that. I'm gonna
All right.
stop the video, stop the share. And we'll just end it for now.